not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate. That's true.
You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively. And therefore they will suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people on it,
no one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders, then die when it's over. Ain't no global warming, the world getting colder. Ain't nobody doing shit, they taking our culture. Wake up and see y'all, ain't no balance on one side of the seesaw. We at war with Esau, and ain't nobody down with us. My niggas get up. I know what it's like to wake up fucked up. I know what it's like when the pain cut deep. You can't get on your feet and you just wanna stay asleep. When the shit too much, a nigga needs to roll up. And all you got is this money and this deal ain't enough. To live is to survive, gotta hustle to stay alive. My girl don't understand, I can see that look in her eyes. I'm not the trouble of soul, I pacify with lies. I inflict the pain and wipe the tears of her cries. Baby, I know you hurting, apologies in advance. I just pray to God that he give me another chance. Trying to make it to heaven, I got one hell of a plan. Dancing with the devil makes me a hell of a man. Yeah, I'm trying to be a better man, but my nigga down south won't put me on 200 amps. He told me if I need it, he'll put that shit in my hands. Is that a curse or a blessing, or do I see at the end?
We learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in. Why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God, and I frankly and sincerely pray for similar blessings.
And I said it like I said it cause I wanted to hit. I give credit where it's relevant, we better than them. It's evident we set the precedence to elevate men, but we never know the evidence kill another black man. And how we supposed to trust the hand we eat off if we hand fed the very poison we feed off? We don't even need all this extra shit they letting us get. It only hold us back from our excellence. Links up, get together, ball, invest in shit. The true value of life. Love my children and wife. Love to all of my niggas who can't be free for the fight. R.I.P. all my niggas who passed on from this life. I love my brothers off the strength, whether he wrong or he right. Let your woman have that glory, baby. I'm wrong, you right. The true glory is through God and how I'm shining my light. Bust down Cartiers to see my sins in the night. Now what I call my darkest hours, all depends on the price. I done said it ain't with snakes, I seen men become mice. I let my pen speak my mind, the only way I think twice. All that I sacrifice, I shall exceed in this life.
You don't get freedom. Freedom is never safeguarded. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or he says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. And when you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we've been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to stick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hoses on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
What's good? What's good? Shalom, shalom. What's cracking? We back. I know y'all see the title. Countdown. The countdown to World War III is winding down on the road to Armageddon, right? So yeah, we back on it. Covering these biblical prophecies, lining them up with current events, right? We see what's going on, right? We see these people is at it again, right? And of course, we was just talking about this a few days ago. How peace and safety, when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction come. He's talking about deals and making deals and all this stuff. But we know what the Bible say. Like what's that? It's a, I don't know. It's funny because I always be quoting this movie, and by me quoting this movie so much or referencing it, it's gonna make it seem like it's one of my favorite movies. But just that it was a popular movie. Like when the aliens came on Independence Day, and it was interviewing the alien, and the alien was like, "Peace, no peace," right? So that's what we got here. So of course, before we get started, giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who some might know as Jesus Christ, right? So yeah, we're gonna get into it. So yeah, it's just crazy because, again, like I said, we it seems like every time we, be pushing these prophecies, coming, speaking against this kingdom, it's always major events happen, and long as we keep on declaring, the Most High God word throughout the earth, He's going to keep on doing what He said He's going to do, right? So that's where we at with it. So, well, let's start with, where we want to go. Let's go to, Isaiah 34, real quick. Go to Isaiah 34, really quick. Okay. So yeah, Isaiah 34 and I start at the top. So but before we get Isaiah, let's go to Zephaniah, right? Because we got to understand this. We need to hear this. Go to Zephaniah real quick. Zephaniah 2 and Zephaniah 2 and verse 1. It says, "Gather yourselves together. Yeah, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired." Right? So he's talking to the Israelites through the prophet Zephaniah. He's telling the Israelites, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Right? So we are that nation that's not desired. We are subjugated, oppressed, and every nation that we're scattered to, called disrespected, called bywords, all types of atrocities happen to our peoples. So he says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, right? And that decree that's has been bringing forth is His declaring His declaration and proclamation of the destruction of this world system that we currently living in, right? And the tearing down of these world governments and establishing the Mashiach Yahweh Shai, the Black Messiah, as ruler, right? And just how He promised, right? So it says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, right? So again, before everything that He promised and prophesied to happen to this nation and the world, you know, says gather ourselves together. That's what we should be doing. I know a lot of us looking on the news and we, you know, jokingly, you know, talking about how, you know, what they did over there in Iran and stuff like that. And like, oh yeah, this guy's starting World War III, right? That's not a light thing, right? That's, people, I got a sense of humor. You know I got a sense of humor. But at the same time, we got to understand, it's not a light thing, right? And who's to say this, because, the Bible says birth pains, the stuff boils up, simmers down, boils up, simmers down, and then it's going to have that, one time where it's just boil over and all hell break loose, right? And who knows, this could be the catalyst for that. This could be the boiling point, right? So it says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as a chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord anger come upon you, right? Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth. And we are the meek of the earth, the Israelites. We are the meek, right? Humble individuals, right? Because just look at our spirit. Very loving and inviting. Although they try to paint us off to be some type of, natural born criminals, right? But very inviting, right? You can look through our neighborhoods and see how inviting we are. We allow every nationality, if they want to come and live amongst us. And, treat them like our own. Even spend all our money with them, right? Got the Arab shops all in our neighborhood. We don't try to run them out of town, right? We spend our money with them, right? Buying fried chicken from the Chinese, right? That's what we do, right? We are very equipped to loving everyone else, but the problem is we're not equipped to loving ourselves. People that look just like us. That's the problem. We have no problem with loving everybody, right? But when it comes to loving people that look just like you, that's where the forgiveness and the love and the grudge and stuff come into play, right? So it says, seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. And that's what we want. We want to be hid in the day of the Lord's anger, right? Those videos we saw yesterday of stuff going kabooey, whatever happened in that media vicinity, they wasn't hid from the Lord's anger, right? So we want to be hid from the Lord's anger in that day, right? So let's go to Isaiah 34. So we got to gather ourselves together, right? And, and pay attention and watch, Because what did Christ say? Christ says, watch, occupy, and watch, right? So we got to be vigilant on what's going on in the world, right? So it says, Isaiah 34 and 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it, right? So, God is calling all the, putting it in everybody's spirit to, you kind of be shaking and waking up to see what's going on, right? It says, come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all is therein, in the world of all things come forth of it, right? Then it says, for the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter, right? So the Most High God is, setting these nations up for this coming world war, right? And he's bringing them, to that final battle, right? He's marching them down. And he's using these, nations to bring out, you know, the big dog America, right? And using all these different countries and stuff, right? And so it's all you know a plan to rectify and fix this, rectify and redeem his people from the atrocities that they have been suffering through the Western powers. And it says there's it says he had delivered them to the slaughter. And that's what's going on. I know we look on the news, we see stuff getting, destroyed, right? And so, everybody that's, they probably celebrating like, oh yeah, he's doing this thing, right? But they don't know that the Most High said this. He has delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out. Their stink shall come up out of their carcass, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. Right? So meaning it's gonna be a lot of unalive bodies in this coming thing, right? What did number 47 say? What did he say? He like, nah, it's gonna be a lot of death, a lot of people gonna die. Right, I wonder how you feel about that though, right? Because you remember, not to get all sidetracked, you remember the first time he was running for president, he was talking about McCain, and he called McCain a loser because he got captured, right? Then he called I think during his presidency, his first term, when they was having a memorial service for the soldiers, I think for World War II or whatever how that stuff go, and he didn't go. And he called the dead soldiers losers. He said they lost. He like, you don't. So when he say that, a lot of people are not gonna make it out of this one, folks. So I guess he's calling them losers. Those are losers to him, right? So it says, their slain also should be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcass, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. Right? That's crazy. Then it says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf fallen from the vine. Right? Because, once those ICBM things hit their target, we saw the video how that whatever they hit by the U.S. Navy base, that building splintered and started falling like leaves from a vine, like we just read, right? Then it says, as the leaf falleth from the vine, and as the fallen fig from the fig tree, right? So that's what's going on here, right? Because the Most High God is coming to visit this place, and He's coming to redeem his people. Because, again, as we wake up, you got to understand the logic of this whole thing of salvation, right? Because, and this is not taught in those churches, of course, because, why would they teach it? As we're waking up, and everything that we've been through in the last 400 years, 500 years, the Most High God is going to begin to put these things on those nations. Those other nations is going to start to experience the things that we have to go to. And not only are they going to experience it, they're going to experience it double time. The Bible says it, right? That's why they have a low birth rate, right? They tried to exterminate us in the 80s with the crack, They tried to get us with the heroin in the 70s and the 60s, right? They tried different mechanisms, to try to, exterminate us. But the Most High God says, whatever they do is going to be put back on them times 2, right? Here, right, that's right. Deuteronomy 30:1, right? Says, it shall come to pass, all these things come upon thee. It shall come to pass, when all these things come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, So as a people, so God is saying, you know, as time go on, you're going to experience these things, right? And it says, shall come to pass. All these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee. Thou shalt call them to mind among the nations, right? So we're going to start to remember the things that he told our forefathers through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Moses, right? We're going to remember the promises that he told us and what he's going to do for us as a people. As we're reading this book, studying it, and looking at the current constructs of religion and realizing that ain't it because it doesn't match with this book, we're realizing, like, hey, this is talking about us, right? And God said this is going to happen because it says, it shall come to pass, all these things when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set upon thee, thou shalt call them to mind in all the nations. So as we're going through these things in our lives and as a people, and we look through history and see what we went through as a people, then we match it up to God's word and what he said he's going to do to his people, right? Then it says what? And thou shalt call them into mind among all the nations, whether the Lord God had delivered thee. So then we're going to start to think and wonder, like, dang, maybe we are the Israelites. Maybe we are the Jews of the Bible. Maybe we are the people of God, because why is this stuff happening to us, right? You're going to start thinking like that, right? And as you start thinking like that, then you're going to start to study. Then you're going to start to actually read this book and get deep inside of it and understand that this book is written by your people. And it's only, and it's talking about you, right? And your experience, right? So it says, and shall return unto the Lord thy God and obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So as we're coming back to our culture, our nationality, our faith, our spirituality, what we did as a people, keeping the faith in the Mashiach Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, as our governmental system, right? And our spirituality. It says, then the Lord thy God will return thy captivity. So then he's going to bring us out of these places that he's scattered us to. That's what's getting ready to come now. As this third world ramp up, right? And as it get going, that is the what we need to be thinking about and making preparation for him sending his son back, right? Because it says, then the Lord thy God will return thy captivity and have compassion upon thee. Because he's going to have compassion on us. Because these bastards don't have no compassion at all, right? We know this, right? We see what they do, right? And when they start actually going at it and doing what they need to do, it's not going to be no compassion. They're not going to be like, oh, well, we really just want to get those guys. So, no, it's whoever out there, right? When they push that button, right? So we're going to need the compassion from the Lord to save us out of this thing, right? Because, I don't know who you know, but I don't know anybody with any underground bunkers and 5 to 7 years worth of food stashed somewhere and a whole bunch of ammunition that they can't, so much ammunition that they can't even use themselves, right? I don't know anybody like that. Maybe you do, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? And if you do, we can talk a little later after this. But I don't know anybody like that. So it says, and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. So all the places we've been scattered to is going to gather us and bring us back. Then it says, and if any of thy be driven into the othermost parts of heaven, And hence will the Lord thy God gather thee. So meaning no matter where we at in the world, because that word heaven is not talking about heaven. It's talking about this dominion of earth, this earthly realm. No matter where we at, we can be off in a far off Pacific island, never had no contact with other human beings ever, since the day we left, and separated, right? And now we just there. Gonna go find us, right? And it says, in this outmost parts of heaven, from hence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from hence will he fetch thee. So he's going to come and get us. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good. Right? That's the promise. And multiply thee above thy fathers. Right? And the Lord thy God will circumcise thee in the heart, circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. That's us coming into the new covenant that you read about in Jeremiah 31:31, Hebrews 8:8, right? All that cool stuff. And it says, and which all thy soul, and thou mayest live. That's the point, right? This is the point. And it says, and the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thy enemies. So, like we were saying before, as we're waking up as a people and gathering ourselves together, like Zephaniah said, and coming back to our culture and understanding and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments in the faith, he said, and the Lord will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee. Right? So that's why these nations is going through what they're going through, and we about to see a World War III. Right? And that's what's going on. Let's get back over here. Isaiah 34. So Isaiah 34, people. And 34 and 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. So let's just get an understanding of what that means, because Father God is up in the heavens, right? Up in the seventh heavens. No, but up in the heavens, right? And so that's way up there. So basically what he's saying in so many words, he's gonna come way, way, way back, how the old folks used to say, way back from yonder, and swoop down with the sword, right? That's what he's coming, right? That's how he's rolling. Because he says, my sword is bathed in heaven, meaning and heaven is above, and it's bathed in heaven, meaning it's raised up. It's it's up there, right? It said it's bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Now, who is Idumea, right? And we know Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom, right? And we know Edom, that's the nation of Esau. And we know that Esau is the current modern day Caucasians, right? That's what we know. And the biblical prophecy, archaeology, and history, these things can be proven. And so it says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Right? And that's what he's on. Right? That's exactly what he's on. And and that's all it's about. Judgment for what the world have done to its people. Not just the city, Craig, the world, right? So we got to understand that. And because It's all biblical prophecy. Because we can, you know, act like this Bible don't say what it say, right? And just go to church and listen to pastor sing and dance and do a little chuck and jive and pop lock and pop lock and have a dangle his hand out waiting for he put some money in it, right? We can do that, right? Or check this out, hear me out. We can actually believe and read what this say, right? We can do that. It's okay, right? It says, the sword of, hold on, let's get this real quick. Let's get Isaiah 63. Because we got to understand, right? Because we got to believe. Like Jesus said, you got to believe. You got to believe, right? So we got to believe, right? So Isaiah 63 real quick. It says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Right? That is a question we should be asking. Who is this coming from Edom? Who is this man that's coming from dealing with these people? Right? What did he do to these people? Hold on, I'm trying to see something really, really quick in this. Just the NLT real quick. Hold up. Let's see. I always read it in the GNT. And I don't know if I ever quite read it in the NLT. Let me see. So, here we go. Let's read it. It's Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63 verse 1. It says, who is this coming from the city of Basra in Edom? Right? So, you know, of course, and how the Bible speaks, you know, how the writers of the scripture speak, you know, oftentimes, not oftentimes, a lot of times, you know, the people is referred to the landmass or region or country that they belong to or they're from. So, you know, in this context, it's not actually talking about the land, it's talking about the people, right? And it says, who is coming from the city of Basra in Edom, who is splendor dressed in red, marching along in power and strength, right? So, you know, it's coming back. He got red on his clothing, right? What type of red is this, right? This is, now in case you don't know who we talking about, we talking about Jesus. Oh, talking about Jesus. We're talking about Jesus right now, okay? We're talking about Yahweh Shai, right? That's what we're talking about, right? And it says, who is so splendid dressed in red, marching along. So he's very, you know, nicely dressed. But then he has stains of red on his clothing, right? Then it says, it is the Lord powerful to save, coming to announce his victory, right? So he's coming to announce his victory because he left out of the nation of Edom, who we already established is the children of the Flintstones, right? So it says, it is the Lord powerful to save, coming to announce his victory. Why is his clothing so red? Like someone who trampled grapes in a wine, trampled grapes to make wine. So again, so our dear brother Isaiah is seeing the Mashiach, and he's like, okay, I see him. He looking, you know, he looked like he was dressed fresh, but dang, he got like all stained up with this red stuff on him. What's going on with the blood, right? Then it says, and the Lord answered, I have trampled the nations like grapes, and no one came to help me. So he like, look, I have to go see these nations, and I have to put in work on these nations. I have to 8-town stump on them real quick, right? And nobody helped me, right? And that's really jacked up. You know, it's really jacked up that I have to leave my throne. I'm chilling in the third heaven, right? And I look down and see all this atrocity happen to my people, and I had to come down and put in work myself because it said, what did it say? And no one came to help me. I trampled them in my anger, and their blood stained all my clothing. So that's why his clothes are so red. That's why Isaiah was looking at this man who appeared to look like he was splendidly dressed, but he has blood stains all on his clothing, right? Then it says, and their blood has stained all my clothing. I decided that the time to save my people had came. So Christ was like, look, I'm sitting back like, look, yo, man, alright, we gotta do something, right? So the time to come to save my people had come. It was time to punish their enemies, right? I was amazed when I looked and saw that there was no one to help me. So again, you remember he said, I did it by myself. I had to leave from my throne, sitting on the right hand of my Father, right? Chilling, all power in my hands, right? Because that's what he gave me. I had to leave from that to come down here. And what did he say? And no one came to help me. I trampled them in my anger, and their blood stained all my clothing. I decided that it was time to save my people. I decided it was time to save my people had come. It was time to punish their enemies. I was amazed when I looked and saw that there was no one to help me. So it's like, wow, you nations really not going to do anything to help these people, right? You really not going to put a sanction out on the West? You're not going to, send a warship over there? You so-called Africans is not going to send a damn canoe after them damn boats, right? You people really not going to do anything? Really? Really? That's what we on, really? Right? So, because we can see how they band together when everybody else go through stuff. The what was that stuff that happened in Japan? The nuclear power plant thing that in the early 2000s. They band together to help them. The earthquakes and stuff that goes on that happened in Turkey and all that stuff. People help. 9/11, people, the countries came together and helped. They even went to war and unalived the innocent, because they wanted to help so bad, right? The stuff that happened in World War II to those so-called people, and then they took them up out of there and sheesh. But even with the Ukraine situations, when that happened, the whole world went crazy. Act like Pusheisty lost his mind. Like, oh man, he's going into Ukraine. We need to do something, right? But nobody shot a musket, blew a cannon when America went into Texas and California and Arizona and took that. Nobody said anything, right? Nobody did anything when they went to the shores of Africa and took millions and millions of people. Nobody did anything. So Christ is saying this. I was amazed when I looked and saw that there was no one to help me, but my anger made me strong, and I won the victory myself. So Christ said, I'm coming to put in work. All right? That's why I too, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 and 68, the latter part says, and no man shall buy thee, which is a Israelite slang for being redeemed, through a family member or whatever. So, and which is prophetic because a lot of our so-called leaders tried to fix our situation. But if Martin Luther King had to fix America, black people would look at him as a god. We already think he's the greatest thing. Malcolm X had to fix America. Black people would have looked at him as a god. It would have been a statue of Malcolm X everywhere. Marcus Garvey, all these people, if they had to fix their problems. But God said he's not going to get that victory to no one else but the Mashiach Yahushua, his son. That's why it says here, it says, I was amazed when I looked and saw that there was no one to help me, but my anger made me strong. I won the victory myself. In my anger, I trampled whole nations and scattered and shattered them. I poured out their lifeblood on the ground. That's what my Jesus said, right? That's what my Jesus, right? So that's what he's coming to do, right? Because these nations got to pay for what they've been doing to the Most High God's people, right? And he's making them, go against each other to do so, right? Let's get let's go back to 6. So it says, let me get this real quick. So it says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made with the fatness and with the blood of the lambs and the goats and the fatness of the kidneys and the rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. That's how he's coming, right? He ain't playing with these people, right? 'Cause a lot of people, if you think that they can do what they've been doing for the last 1,500 years or more, and think they just gonna get away scot-free, walk off like Kaiser Soze in that movie Usual Suspects, how he just walk off at the end, everybody go to jail, get locked up, dead or whatever, he just hop off in a limousine and drive off in the sun. No, it don't happen like that, right? That's not what's going on here. It says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made with the fatness. It is made fat with the fatness, and the blood with the blood of the lambs, the goats and the fatness of the kidneys and the rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Right? It's going down. Right? You ain't playing with them. Let's get this first. Go to Psalms 83. Go to Psalms 83 real quick. Let's start at Psalms 83. Let's start at verse 1. So it says, keep not thou silent, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. So this is David's prayer. King David, right? Our King David, right? A warrior of the warriors, right? One of the greatest of the greatest, right? And you know what the Bible say about King David? He was righteous. God called him his friend, right? He was a man after the heart of the Most High God, meaning he wanted to know the thoughts of God. He wanted to, think like God, right? He wanted to have that same mindset. And God called him perfect. So let's see what this man talking about. And, through the prophetic voice of the Yahweh, right? For lo, thy enemies have, it says, keep not thy peace, O God, hold not thy keep not thou silence and hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. Meaning, God, it's time for you to act, and let these people know what time it is, right? You know what I'm saying? How they just say, time to wake these niggas up for the 9-9, right? Wake them up, right? Let them know what's happening out here, right? It says, lo, for thy enemies make a tumult. They have hate thee. They that hate thee have lifted up the head. So it's telling, because a lot of people don't understand, God has enemies. That is true. You look at these Epstein files. Look at the rituals and the satanic stuff that they're into. That is a prime example of being an enemy of God, right? Putting consuming human flesh is a prime example of being an enemy of God. Child abuse, and you know what I mean by that, is a prime example of these things, right? So it says, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, right? And all their laws and stuff that they push, right? The enemies make a tumult. They that hate thee lifted up their head. So these people hate God, right? And even those people with the little curly stuff hanging from the side and the little coasters that they put on top of their heads, even those guys. And we know they do, because statistically, they are a secular nation, meaning they don't even believe in Jesus. They don't rock in Jesus' peace, right? And then the small percentage that we see and look at as religious, 90% of them don't believe in Jesus, right? You know, and then you got the 10%, right? So they're secular by nation anyway. So they are enemies and identity thieves, you know. So it says, for lo, thy enemies make a time out. They that hate thee lifted up their head, meaning they're proud, right? These people are proud, right? That's why they, move the way they do out of their pride, right? And then that's why that's why they think they can, they try to present themselves as, God and all that stuff, right? And because they have a superiority complex, a God complex. Then it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. And that's what they do. They took in crafty counsel against us, right? They come up with plans and ways to devise against us, to oppress us, to subjugate us, to further keep us down below, right? Because, it doesn't make sense for them for us to be even, right? That's not how this thing is designed, right? As long as we're chasing the dream of equality, they gonna still be that guy dangling the carrot, right? And we're gonna be following it, because they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, right? And they come up with these plans and devise mechanisms to further their oppression. They're not gonna lose their dominance, right? Just think about this for a hot second. You have a house, a stranger come into your house. That stranger, you're not going to let that stranger just assume authority in your house, and now you're like treated as a guest in your own house, right? Does that make sense? Now they're calling the shots, and now you used to live in this big old nice 2-story, 3-story house, and now they allocated you to the basement, right? And so and then they're telling you where to go, right? You ain't cool with that, right? You wouldn't be cool with that, right? Because it's your house. You paying all the bills, right? You did all the stuff that you need to do. So you're not going to allow that. So what make you think they will allow equality in a system that they created for them to be dominant and call this their house? Huh? We got to think about these things. Because you wouldn't do it. If I come to your house right now, you don't know me. If I come to your house right now and start calling shots and telling you what to do and how to do it and where to go, and start marking off areas to, okay, well, you stay on this side, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy, right? I would hope so. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against thy hidden ones. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. And that's what happened. They cut us off from being a nation. That's why we don't know who we are. That's why we have European names, right, that we go by, right? And, and follow, that we don't know our own culture and custom and language, right? Then it says, they have said, come, let us come together, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's what happened. We don't remember that we are the Israelites. That's why we read earlier in Deuteronomy 30 that it's going to come upon a time when we start thinking on these things, the stuff that the Most High God said was going to happen to us. We're going to start to remember. Then it's going to start coming back in our mind. Because these people here did a job on us, because it says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and hidden and consulted against thy hidden ones. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. That's what's going on, right? That's why if you come to a fellow black or Hispanic person, be like, hey, we are the people of God. We are the 12 tribes of Israel. They gonna look at you crazy, like, nigga, what are you talking about? I'm not, me no black, right? Let me looking at you crazy, right? Because we don't even consider these things like Isaiah chapter 1 tells us who we are. And it says, for they have consulted consulted together with one consent, meaning all these nations came together and said, look, I know we don't get along about this or that or whatever, but when it comes to them niggas, they gotta stay in a place. We cannot allow these niggas to rise up to do anything great, because that will be the downfall of us, right? And that's how it's set up, unfortunately. God is not a Unitarian, we are the world and, everybody can come and get some type of thing, right? One ruler at a time, right? One superior nation that's dominating. Look at history and think that I'm lying, right? So it says they are consulted together with one consent, meaning all these nations come together and say, you know what? When they in their little UN meetings and meeting up and coming up with plans on how they're going to dominate the world, when they're at their economic forum meetings in Switzerland and stuff like that, they're thinking about how they're going to keep you, black man, brown man, in the same position that you've been in, right? And how they're going to keep their position that they've been in, right? And it says, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. These people are against you, right? No matter how much they smile at you and say, hi, how you doing? Hey, cool, right? Spiritually, they are against you, because everything they do is to be against you. Through their legislation, the way they treat you, all that cool stuff, the way society is set up, all that, right? They are against you. And who are against us? The Bible's going to tell us, in case you just think we're just conspiracizing, right? And it says, the tabernacles of Edom. And we know who the Edomites are. We've been talking about them since the duration of this video. We know who they are. The Edomites. The Caucasians. The Ishmaelites. The Arab people, right? The little Arab people over there. Then it says, the Ishmaelites of Moab. So Moab, the ancient Chinese, right? And because Moab can be traced back to Abraham's grandson a lot, and we know that the Chinese people, they would tell you themselves that they descended from Mongoloidism, which is incest, right? And we know we know the story between Lot and his daughters, right? And they come from that, Moab. And the Hagarenes, which is an African nation, because we know these African nations, a lot of those West Coast African nations sold us into slavery. And also those East Coast African nations, right? During the Arab slave trade, right? Then it says, Gebal and Ammon, right? Gebal, Arab nation. Ammon, ancient Japanese, because again, from the descendants of Lot. And we all know that, again, just like come from descendants of Mongoloidism, right? Then it says, in Amalek, even though Amalek is separate, they separated Amalek from Edom, but Amalek is the top tribe of the Edomites, just like when you get into the 12 tribes of Israel, the Judites will be the top tribe of Israel. So it's the same thing with those people. It'll be the little curly haired people with the stuff on the top, right? Those people, Amalek, right? And it's interesting too, because I want to do a video on Amalek, because when you get to the history of Amalek, even though they are brothers of the rest of the Edomites, even through history, they always separated themselves from their other Edomite brothers and only kind of dealt with them on a necessary basis if they need to, team up and go against another group, but for the most part, they was always renegades and pillagers and robbers and thieves and murderers, right? They was like pirates, without water, because they was on camels, I probably assume, and horses, whatever. Couldn't get into the history. That was what they did. While it'll tell you too, not to get too far off, but it'll tell you why their Edomite counterparts, they were more, I ain't gonna say domesticated, but they were more into like diplomacy more so than their Amalek brothers. Then even when you read the scriptures, after we got, we came, Jacob got cool with Esau. We was cool. When we left out of Egypt, it was Amalek that got on garbage with us. Then of course, Esau is still Esau. So then that just spread it through the rest of them. But it was one point in time we got cool with Esau, but it was just Amalek that was like, nah, we ain't never being cool because they're violent, right? That's what they do. That's why when you look that's why they did that. What they did to the Iranians over there, right? Violent people. Don't let their little quirkiness, their little goofy looking stuff, their unattractiveness fool you, right? They're very unattractive people. Women, children, whatever you want to call them. Very unattractive people, right? Very not easy on the eyes to look at, right? We know that. But don't let that fool you. They are very deadly people, and history tells us that. So it says, in Amalek, and the Philistines, and the inhabitants of Tyre, right? Then it says, Ashur also is joined with them. They have hope the children hope the children of Lot, Shalah. So right, so just name all these different nations and countries. These are their biblical names, of course. And names change over centuries and time. But again, through prophecy, archaeology, we know who these nations are. And so this listed the nations that's coming against Israel, right? So we see this play out through history, right? Let's get back to right there, brother Isaiah. Oh, let's get this. I forgot this. Let's get Obadiah, right? Obadiah. So you see, all these nations, like I said, they come together to try to come against the people, right? Because that's what they do. Even because, and that's how too. The people don't want to live in righteousness, because the whole point of Israel being Israel is to lead the world into righteousness. And spiritually, these nations know it. That's why they fight against the people and try to, make laws and come against us and, do stuff that is counter to the Most High God. And then our nature, because we just want to be loved, like that Lil Wayne song, I better be loved. Never know how to love. Right? We just want to be loved, right? So we end up being seduced and start following these different nations and their philosophies, and we start losing our way because we just want to know how to be loved, like Lil Wayne say, like how to be loved. So Obadiah chapter 1, and it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus said the Yahweh power concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador sent among the heathen. So that's what's going on. You see these nations gearing up and getting riled up, and the Most High put a spirit on these nations, and he's calling it a ambassador, right? It says, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. So all these nations is putting a spirit on them to come and do battle with America, right? Then it says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And that's what's going on. These people are starting to really hate these people over here, right? And they are greatly despised, right? These people, like the Bible says, that it must be a fall away of the church, then and that man of sin be revealed, that son of perdition. And people are now looking around history and looking at their actions and things that they're currently doing and be like, you know what? I think these people are ruining the earth and ruining the quality of life. Yeah, I think we got to do something about that. People are going to slowly start getting that realization because the Most High God is going to put the Spirit on them too. Because it says, Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So, they are greatly hated because look how they rule the earth, right? Look how they rule this whole planet. They're, although they are probably some of the most well-protected people on the planet because they can go to damn near any place on the planet and be good, and if something do happen, you guarantee there's going to be a damn bomb or something going to happen, right? If one of them do become missing, right? It says, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? We got to understand that first and foremost, right? And it says back over here, it says, Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Right? So, they are despised because of their actions and the way they, carry themselves and how they, treat other nations or people. Right? Despised. Right? Because it says over here, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So, the people that's running this earth are wicked people. And because they are wicked people, it says, Thou art greatly despised. The pride in thy heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in cliffs of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that said in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's how they feel. They feel like they are toughest. When 47 hit that button and they did what they did over there, he was standing on TV, like very proud, like everything is cool. But then you can see that he was kind of scared because when he started talking about, it's going to be some lives that's not going to be, with us too much longer, right? He starts speaking about that. You see it, right? But their pride, right? Because he's still going to get on TV and speak like a dragon when he talk, right? Because it says, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Thou that dwell in cliffs of the rocks. Right? We know who dwelt in the cliffs of the rocks. Come on, we know history. We know the Flintstones. Right? If you're old enough, you watch the cartoons, the Flintstones. We know these people descend from Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. Right? That's where they come from. Right? Cavemen. Right? The Bible tells you that these people are cavemen. Because they live in the cliffs of the rocks. History tells us that. They tell us that. And it says, The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwell in the cliffs of the rocks, whose habitation is high. Because they love living high up in the mountains and stuff. That's why they down there in the Appalachian Mountains and stuff like that, right? That's why they was down in Mount Seir. That's why they went to the Caucasus Mountains when Nebuchadnezzar kicked their butt and pushed them out of the land, right? So, that's why they do these things. It says, whose habitation is high, that said in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? Right? And that's what they feel. Who's going to stop me, right? Nobody can stop me. Those people, the Iranians, they can't, what are they going to do? We're going to destroy them. They're not going to do anything. They're going to be very bad, very quickly, right? They're very prideful, right? And it says, If a thief come to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they have not stolen until they had enough? Meaning, these people are thieves, robbers. They will keep stealing and robbing and taking, and they will never stop. They like the Terminator, right? When it comes to stealing, right? I was talking to this Edomite today. I was about to say the H word. talking to his Edomite today, and he called himself trying to be funny, talking about black people, whatever, right? So I just brought up his history because he called himself, he's an Amalek guy. He's one of those Amalek with the little curly stuff, with the little cups, saucers, or whatever, the little coasters, whatever they put on top of their head. He's one of those guys. So I have to remind him of his history, how violent they were, that you guys are the original raiders and looters and robbers. Your history tells us this, right? That's what you people do. You people are very bloodthirsty, right? And it says, if thief come to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they have not stolen until they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they leave not some grapes? Meaning they would take everything, they would not leave nothing, right? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Meaning, who's going to figure this guy out? When are we going to figure out his tricks, right? I like to use this example. They're like the 1980s, 1990s Utah Jazz with Stockton and Malone. They got the pick and roll. They were very dominant with the pick and roll. Everybody knew the Utah Jazz, Stockton and Malone, was going to do the pick and roll. But for whatever reason, no team could stop it. It was guaranteed bucket unless you foul or something, right? So that's like what these people do. And Obadiah, our dear brother Obadiah, is asking us, like, come on, man. They keep running the same dang old play. Like, when we going to figure this stuff out? Divide and conquer. That's their MO. Divide and conquer, right? And we fall for it all the time. Get us to fight each other. While we're fighting each other, they come in to stealing everything, right? So Obadiah is asking us, when are we going to figure this stuff out? It took the NBA a while to, with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, they beat the Jazz twice in the finals. So the pick and roll, they figured the pick and roll out eventually. So we got to figure this pick and roll thing out. And it says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to, this is the point, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee. Because even though, like we just read in Psalms 83, that they are confederate together to come against the Israelites, right? Then, they have their NATO, they have their EU. It says, even thee, that the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread had laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in them. So eventually all their little ace boom coons that they thought they was cool with, they're going to end up turning on them, right? Because we see certain countries is not happy with the way that they're moving, right? And eventually, they're going to end up, jumping ship, right? And it says, they that eat thy bread had laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in them. Shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of Mount Esau? So all their little precious smart guys, the ones that think they can figure this stuff out, they're gonna be destroyed. They're gonna be obsolete. They're not gonna do nothing, know nothing, and be nothing in that day. And it says, and it shall come to, and I shall not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of Mount Esau. So, meaning they're going to be making stupid, dumb decisions across the board like we see today. Their wisdom, their knowledge is being stricken. That's why it looked like, one of us, anybody can go put on a blue suit, and a little red tie and be a president nowadays, right? Just like, dang, anybody can do it now, I guess. It says, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one, how many? That every one of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. That's the ultimate grand plan. Execution double non-stop. Studies in the body underground. Right? Extermination. That's what the Most High God got planned for these people that just can't get right. Right? Because, I mean, what are we to do? They're not going to be peaceful with anybody. They have proven many years over that they are not capable of being in civilization and being peaceful and having a conducive way of life for everyone, right? They have not proven that. Everywhere they go, they leave bodies on the floor. Everywhere they go, right? History tells us this. This is not me just saying things. We all know where a library is, I hope. We all got a smartphone. We can look these things up. We know what they've been doing, right? Ever since they crawled out of the holes in the cracks of the mountains, we know what they've been up to, right? What do you expect? They came out of cracks and holes of a damn mountain. Of course they're violent. What do you if you're looking at a mountain and you see something crawling out of it, out of a dark hole in you think that's going to be a friendly you think that's going to be a friendly creature coming out of that? I mean, come on now, right? You'll be scared, right? I know I'll be scared. If I'm out somewhere and I just see some little savage come out of the damn mountain, I'm going to be like, what the heck, right? So, of course they're violent. What do you think happens when you live in mountains for hundreds of years, right? What do you think you're going to be, right? Oh, shoot. Oh, man. All right. So, it says, oh, man, that's funny. So it says, the sword of the Lord is filled with the blood. It is made with the fatness and the blood of the lambs of the goats, and with the fatness of the kidneys of the rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. The unicorns shall come down with them in the buckets, and the bulls in their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Right? So now this unicorn, everybody don't trip out. Unicorn is not talking about a unicorn, it's talking about a rhinoceros. Right? Then it says, and it's basically this likening these different animals to the different nations that the Most High God is gathering into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and all these nations that he's punishing, right? And chiefly the nation that's going to get this punishment is the nation of Edom, which is referenced as Idumea. So it says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, in the year of his recompense, for the controversy of Zion. Right? Meaning for all of the little things that these people have done to his people, he's going to pay them back. Right? Because believe it or not, he is a God of justice. Right? Whether some of y'all like Master or not, Master got to pay. Right? Let's get Zechariah 12:3, I believe. I won't. Because we got to understand, that's how it gets down for the people. It says, for the day of the Lord, the vengeance, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and a year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. Right? And that's what's all that's happening, because this little scrimmage they got going on with Iran, it's all started for them people with the little curly stuff hanging from the side and little coasters, saucers, sit on top, those guys. It says, Zechariah 12:3, and in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone, a burdensome stone for all the people. And that's what's happening. Since those people decide to come and steal that land and be over there, it's been a burdensome stone for them. They have to fight every damn decade to be over there, right? Every 5 years, every 10 years, somebody they attacking them, or they attacking somebody, or somebody attacking them, right? And all the time, every day, people are telling them to get the hell up out of there, right? So every few years to a decade or so, they end up fighting somebody. Then, and every day, people is telling them get the hell up out of there, right? And it says, and in that day, I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. And that's what's going on. Because this is people is like, dang, what's going on over there? Because, you look on social media, everybody talking about, what's going on over there and how we about to World War III. People is worried out there. So that place is becoming burdensome for not just the city, correct? For the world, right? And it says, make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces. Cut in pieces. So all these nations that want to occupy that land, want to come over there because of the Balfour Act and so forth, you see the hell that they're going through ever since 1948, right? Because he said, this Most High God is he about that. When he says stuff, it happens, right? Because he's not cool with them people over there. And even when we got deported because of Nebuchadnezzar took us out of the land and he deported us out and brought some other people in there, and Most High God wasn't cool with that. What he do? He sent wild bears to attack those people until they got it right? See, he ain't cool with all that. So it says, I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all the people that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. So all these different nations that want to involve themselves and say, well, those people need the land too, and they got to be. No, they don't. They didn't know where they was going to go. At first they wanted to go to Haiti, right? Then they wanted to go to South America somewhere. They wanted to carve out a spot in South America. Then they was thinking maybe someplace in Africa. Then, what happened? Those nice little Palestinians over there said, hey guys, you don't have to go look around the whole world for for a place to be. Why don't you guys come over here? Maybe about 70,000 of y'all can come. We'll take about 70,000. How about that? They open up their arms to them, right? They say, yeah, we're going to bring about 70,000. It's more than 70,000 of them over there, right? And now they're taking more of the land that they said that they wasn't going to take. After the Palestinians open up their arms and say, hey, come on in. Remember what we were saying earlier about if you have a house and a stranger or a guest come over there, how would you feel if they just assume authority and start taking over everything in your house that you pay bills in, right? Kind of the same thing, So, in that day, I would make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all the people that burden themselves with it. With it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. Right? And that's what's happening. All these nations coming to fight, right? Iran in a BRICS squad, the BRICS, they gonna come out. They gonna bring them out, right? NATO, America, they coming, right? And it says, in that day said the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and its rider with madness. I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. I will smite every horse upon every horse of the people with blindness. Right? And it says, and the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. Because, like I said, he's going to take these people out, right? So, because they took over the land. They living over there like it's all good, like it's theirs. They can do whatever they want. They over there singing, this land is my land. This land is your land. God don't like that song, right? And he ain't cool with that, right? So, and he gonna get with him. Let's get back over here. All right, let's get boom, boom, boom. Let's get Jeremiah 51, I believe. Yeah, Jeremiah 51 real quick, right? So let's get to the thing, right? Because, you know, Iran is definitely prophesied to attack this place. You know, it is listed among the nations that is going to be instrumental in destroying this place, right? We got to understand that. And, you know, that's why it's important to understand these prophecies and get into them and read them, right? So we can know where we at in this thing. Jeremiah 51 and 1 says, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, rise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. So, you know, of course, America is personified as Babylon, because it's called Mystery Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, right? And it says, and it's telling the nations to rise up against her, right? And it says, I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land for the day of trouble. They shall be again around about. So, like I said, he's gonna, you know, it's gonna be different nations coming against this place, right? Because, like we read in Obadiah, the nation that was confederate with thee, you know, had what is going to turn on them, right? And those fanners is like, you know, you got a fan blowing on something. A fan is, you know, especially as you know how to say, fan in the flame. That's something that's going to ignite and further propagate, you know, the war or what's going on, right? The dissension and the turmoil, right? And it says, I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and empty her land for the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about, right? So all these nations, right? You think China and all these other nations ain't, you know, about that? It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth him up in his bargaining in spirit, ye not her young men destroy ye utterly all her hosts. So, you know, talking about destroy the nations, you know, it's going to destroy their armies, right? And it says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets, right? So again, so when all our wars start going on, because you're going to have civil war here, you're going to have, you know, race riots, all that stuff. Then you're going to have these outside nations, you know, also attacking as well, right? And it says, for Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land is filled with sin against the holy ones of Israel, right? Because that's what's over there in that land, you know, filled with sin. You got Tel Aviv, right, over there in the holy land of God. Tel Aviv is the gay capital of the world. They have the world's biggest homosexual parades over there, right? That's what they do, right? All mannerism of sin goes down over there. Cannibalism, all types of unnatural things take place in that land, right? And it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. So God is telling his people here in America, Babylon, you know, separate from this place. Don't be a partaker in, how in their way of life and how they get down. That's why it's important to understand our culture, our history, and how we interact with each other as a people, right? And how we understand these scriptures, right? Because it says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul." That's what you need to be worrying about, delivering your soul. Because, we got to understand, we've been doing this whole Christianity thing for 500 years, right? Where have it gotten us? Is that really the thing, right? Could they beat it into us, first of all, right? So, we have to actually be concerned about our soul, our salvation, right, in this thing, and wonder, are we walking down the wide gate, or are we walking in the narrow gate, right? And speaking of this, popped in my head as I said that. I had ran one of my YouTube videos to Chat GPT and had them analyze it and all that stuff, right? And basically, so long story short, right? Paraphrasing. So basically saying, like, I was talking about keeping the law and stuff like that in one of the videos or whatever. So basically, he was saying that the way I presented it is, it's the narrow path. And I thought I wish it's on my phone. I'll probably find some time to share it and how he phrased it. And that's what keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and the faith in the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, is the narrow path, right? And few that find it, right? The few people find the narrow path, because majority of us, we follow into these religions and we think that's what's up, right? So it says narrow path. So it then says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul, and be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance." Right? So this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, when he comes back and he's passing, and he's recompensing and judgment and all that cool stuff, right? So all that stuff is taking place now. And we see all the stuff, coming to the past. That's why, we have to flee out of the midst of Babylon spiritually, right? Disconnect from what's going on. Hold on real quick. Salakia, really fast. Salakia, excuse me. 1 second. Salakia. So, yeah, Salakia. Change that thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, we gotta, that's what we gotta be on, right? And so yeah, where we at? Says, for Israel, says says, all right. So Babylon have been a golden cup. It says Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and had made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken of her wine. Right? And that's what happened. All the nations follow the ways of America and philosophies, right? And the nations have been drunken of her wine, right? And they, like I said, because their policies and everything that they push, right? And they're drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are made, the nations are mad, right? And it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and is destroyed. Howl for her. Take blame for her pain. So it's like, so these nations going to be mourning. The ones that's deeply connected to America, they're going to be mourning when this place is destroyed and wiped off the map, right? And it says, take balm for it, meaning like ointment. Because, if you get a rash, you put a little ointment on it or something for the rash to go away. Or, the little ointment to, the pain and stuff, right? Because back then they used to use the little balm and stuff for pain. So, and God said, what he say? He says, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. Meaning, it's not going to be no type of balm, no ointment, no type of care package, no type of FEMA relief plan, no type of, any type of thing that the nations can put together to try to resurrect America and fix them, right? Like, oh man, we gotta help America, send some type of relief. Nothing that you can do. Right? And it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. So it's like if you can take balm for her pain, but it's no healing. It's nothing that's going to be able to be fixable, resalvageable once some things go off, right? We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go, everyone to his own country, for her judgment have reached unto heaven, and lift up even to the sky. So people are going to abandon this place. They're not going to be like, you know what? Dang, it's nothing we can do. This whole place, it's a wash. You know, there's nothing we can do. Well, it's, you know, they say when you total your car, well, it's stuff total. You know what I'm saying? Gotta, nothing you can do about it. Gotta mark it up. That's total. That's what's happening. This place is going to be utterly destroyed, uninhabitable, refurbishable. Right? They're not going to be able to fix this place back up. Right? Let's get Revelation 17 real quick. Revelation 17 says this. Revelation let's start at 1. 17 and 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So America is that great whore. And the angel is telling our dear brother John, he's going to show him the judgment. What's going to happen to this place called America that sit on many waters? And how do they sit on many waters? Because they have over 750 military bases all over the world. Over 160 military garrisons all over the world. Right? And they influence their policy. What do they do to Iran? They then killed the man over there because he didn't move fast enough, right? That's essentially what happened. He didn't move fast enough, so they went and blew up his whole house, right? The prime minister over there. It says, the great whore that sit upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So these nations have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication because they followed her ways, her philosophies, their policies, their religion, you know, all that. So, you know, that's how these nations are, you know, influenced by this place, right? Let's get Romans real quick. Let's go to Romans 9 and 17. You gotta understand how God works, you know? Because we think God is just in the abstract. He just looking down, just watching things, like he just flicking through channels, watching TV, just watching, oh, look at these crazy earthlings. No, he's in control, right? And it says, let's start at 16. Romans 9 and 16. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. So meaning it's not anything that we do or not do. It's up to God to show that mercy, and he's going to be the final judge of everything, right? For the scripture said unto Pharaoh, for this very same purpose has I raised thee up. So we know Egypt, right? We know how great Egypt was. We know about King Pharaoh Ramses and all them people. They were very, very popular, right? Very popular guys. Egypt, gold, wisdom, all that cool stuff. Everybody knows about it, right? It says, for the scripture said unto Pharaoh, for this very same purpose I have raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee. So God made Egypt a mighty nation that everybody can be like, oh yeah, Egypt is cool, very mighty, right? They got a lot of wealth, food, all that. And it says, and that my name might be declared through all the earth. And we know what he did to Egypt. He destroyed Egypt with 10 plagues. And everybody knew about that. When the Israelites left out of Egypt, that's why a lot of the nations like, whoa, we don't want no smoke with them. Because they got the God of Yahweh. And he just destroyed that mighty, powerful nation called Egypt. So we don't want no power. But you had one little group of people called the Amalek niggas that they didn't care about none of that. And that's why God is getting with them. And he's going to continue to get with them. Right? And it says, for the scripture said unto Pharaoh, for this same purpose I have raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, that my name might be declared throughout the earth. So God, raises up certain nations and people to be rulers and stuff, to show his power. Then destroy them at the same time to show his might, to show you that he is sovereign and he does what he wants. Right? And it says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drink. The nations have drunk of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Right? And that's what's going on. These nations are mad. Oh, let's get this really quick. See if this is what I want. Okay, no, I think it's in Ecclesiastes. Hold on one second. Ecclesiastes. Oh, matter of fact, well, we'll skip that one for now. But it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen, destroyed. How for her? Take bound for her pain. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go, every one, to his own country, for her judgment reach unto heaven, and it is lifted up even to the skies. Right? Yeah, that's what's going on. So God, people don't think that God knows what's going on. God knows exactly what's going on with this place. It says, her judgment have reached unto heaven and is lifted up even unto the skies. Right? So that's what's going on. And it says, let's jump to 25. So it says, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, said the Lord, which destroy all the earth. I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down the rocks. I will make thee a burnt mountain. So Most High God is against this place, and he said, I'm going to destroy thee. Right? And it says, and they shall not take thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever. Right? So what does that mean? That means there's not going to be not one building standing, not one stone, not a brick bigger than a rock when everything is all said and done, when he destroyed this place. This place is going to be leveled. Right? It's going to be looking like gravel. It's going to be looking like an unpaved road. Right? This whole bunch of rocks and bricks just, crumbled together. Right? That's what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. Because it says, and they shall not take up thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but shall be desolate forever, said the Lord. Meaning they're not going to be able to rebuild this place. Right? It's not going to be something that they can fix and be like, let's go fix this whole thing up again. Right? Nope. And it says, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call called together against her the kingdoms of Ararat. So now it's getting into the nations that's going to be pinnacle in the destruction of these Western powers, right? So getting into it, right? So it says, so God is putting a spirit on the bricks rod, right? Real Pooh Shiesty, right? In its counterparts. He's putting I said bricks wall like that. Gotta say it like that. Bricks wall. No, that's my Waka Flocka, right? Waka. Right? Bricks wall. Right? We on that, right? So it says, set a standard in the land, blow a trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. So it says, prepare the nations against her, call together against the kingdoms of Ararat. Ararat, I believe that is Turkey, right? We talk about how Turkey is going to eventually, they're on the docket to join the BRICS. They were a part of the NEU thing, right? So they on the thing for that, right? Menemin. What does Menemin? Menemin is an ancient word for Iran, right? Menini, right? Menini, Iran, right? And Ashkenaz, right? All the little old Soviet Union territories that Russia used to possess in the 80s and beyond, right? Going back into World War II. Russia is definitely going to get majority of their old territory back. That's why they took Crimea when Obama was president, and they're trying to take, and they started taking Ukraine when Biden came into office, right? So they're going to get the Bible telling us right here, they're going to get their stuff back. They're going to build that USSR up. And who's with them? Menenim, which is Iraq, right? And we know I keep saying Iraq, Iran, because we know they in the news right now. We see what's going on. That's the point, right? So Iraq is definitely in the thick of things, right? And cause they're going to be one of the nations that be a very instrumental in destroying this place, because it's listed right here, and it says Ashkenazim, which is, like I said, that's Russia building up their little Soviet countries. Appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as a rough caterpillar. So that's what these nations going to do. They're going to ask their BRICS coming together. They're going to appoint them a head, right? And we know who their head is. It says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. That's the Russians. The Russians. Always good to have the Russians right there with you. Russian firepower. Right? You're going to have the Russians. Right? Prepare against her with the kings of the Medes, the captains of all the rulers thereof in the land of his dominance, right? The Russians and Iranians, the BRICS were very good for business for black people, right? That's what's gonna happen, right? So let's get Revelation 17 and 11, right? And it says, the beast that was, and the beast that, and is not, he is the 8th, and is the 7th, going to perdition. So it's talking about the Russians in America and in England, right? So it says, the beast that was is the Roman Empire, and is not, he is even the 8th. So, America is that 7th beast, right? America. Then after America is taken out, the Russians fuel off that good vodka Russia from the mouth of Russia. It's gonna have a quick little power thing when they running things for a hot second. Then a black man by the name of Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Christ, he's gonna come back with the millions and millions of angels with him, and put those Russians back into their place and make them know that everything is not very good. It's is not good for the black people until a black man named by the Jesus Christ is running the whole thing. Right? That's what's going to happen, right? So, it says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. So that's talking about Russia. Russia is the eighth beast, because America is the seventh. When you get into the book of Daniel and all that cool stuff, right? And it says, and the seventh go into perdition. So the seventh is going into perdition. That's why we say America is going to be bleep, taken out. They're gone. Bow, boom, get them out of here, right? In this war, they're not going to make it to see the end of this whole thing. But the Russians, they're going to be there. And since they're there, they better be there or be square. And they're definitely going to be square. Boom, bow, bow, boxed out, chalked out, right? That's what's going to happen to them. They're getting chalked out, right? And it says, the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. So that's the Russians. So the beast that was is, is Roman Empire. America is the revised empire. Boom. It's going to perdition. The seventh goes into perdition. That's America, my bad. So the beast that was Roman Empire and is not, because the Roman Empire, got destroyed. America is the revised. Says, and he is the eighth. And the seventh, which was America, goes into perdition. So America goes into perdition. So after America is destroyed, the Russians, the BRICS squad, they're the new superpower for a hot second. Until the black man by the name of the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Christ, come back with the millions and millions of black angels with him. 200 million to be exact. To fix this thing, this whole debacle, right? And it says, okay, yeah, that's it on that. So let's go back over here. Then they say, what did it say? Over here, boom. Jeremiah. Boom, boom. So then it says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes and the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his domination. Right? And that's what they're going to do. Prepare, battle against this place. Isaiah 13, real quick. Isaiah 13 and 6. And it say this: the righteous keep him that is upright in the way, but the wicked overthrow the sinner. Right? And that's what these people been doing. They've been taking their wickedness and oppressing the good of the people, which is us, because we are the good, the Israelites. They've been using their wickedness to overthrow, right? And it says, but wickedness overthrow the sinner, and there is that maketh himself rich yet have nothing, but there is that make himself poor yet have great riches. So, and that's what these people don't have charity, right? These people is all about making themselves rich and damn everybody else, right? And so it says, the righteous keepeth him that is upright in the way, but the wicked overthrow the sinner. So then it says, there is that maketh himself rich yet have nothing. Because you can be rich, but you're empty on the inside, right? And that's what these people are. Again, going back to the little Epstein stuff. Look at the little crazy stuff that these rich people get into, right? That is a very clear sign of being empty when you look at the stuff that they get into, right? And it says, the ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke. And it says, the light of the riches, the light of the righteous rejoice, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by hold on. I'm reading. Hold on. Hold on. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. Boom. It wasn't. Boom. Let's go to here. Alright, boom. Right over here. Get this real quick. Isaiah 13:6. That was Proverbs 13:6. Still good too. But right here it says, hallow ye, for the day of the Lord at hand. It shall come to pass the destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall the hand be faint, and every man heart shall melt. And that's what's going to happen when the day of the Lord comes. Because everybody talking about, I can't wait for sweet Jesus, right? And the day of the Lord, right? It's going to be a horrible day. It's not going to be a day to be, waiting and hoping for, right? It's not going to be, because a lot of, you go to church and they act like that, when Jesus come back, all that stuff, it's going to be a pleasant, great time. Nah, you're not going to want to see that day, right? You're going to probably be in the middle of doing something wicked. Then you're going to look up and you're going to see that black man by the name of Jesus Christ, who the world calls Jesus Christ, real name Yahweh Shai. You're going to see him with the millions and millions. And you're going to be like, oh, jump. You're going to be in the middle of doing something probably wicked 9 times out of 10. So you ain't going to be ready to see him. You're not going to be so happy on that day. You're going to be trying to hide yourself like the Bible say. Right? You're not going to want that day. The Bible says any good, sensible person do not want that day. I'm paraphrasing. The Bible says, why do you call for the day of the Lord? It is terrible. Right? That's what the Bible says. And it says, therefore shall the hands be faint and every man's heart melt. They shall be afraid. Fangs and a sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in a pain as a woman that travails. They shall be amazed one after another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with the wrath and fire, wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. He shall destroy the sinner thereof out of it. Right? That's how the Most High God coming. Right? To destroy the sinner out of it. Right? Where's that? Right? And so just keep going. It says, for the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light, for the sun shall be darkened and is going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Meaning, like I said, it's going to be the wisdom and the knowledge of this earth is going to be kind of stricken in that day, right? It's not going to, be a time for, like I said, it's going to be dark times in that day, right? Very dark, because like I said, war going on, famine, people, robbing, trying to survive, right? So it says, what it says, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light, and the sun shall be darkened and go forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. So again, if you understand biblical terminology, the moon and the stars and the sunlight is talking about wisdom and knowledge, right? So saying in that day, it's not going to be too many bright ideas going on, because people are going to be living off of instinct. They're going to be thinking about, how can I live the next 5 minutes? Because there's people out here breaking in houses, robbing stores, looting, trying to survive, trying to take whatever they can have to live, right? So the wisdom is going to be gone. Then it says, and I will punish I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. And that's what's going to happen, right? Because these people are very arrogant, very proud in their way, and they think they cannot be touched. But the Most High God is going to touch them up very nicely, right? Put hands and feet all on them, right? And it says, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud and cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Hold on real quick, Salakia. 1 second. Salakia. Oh yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Then right here, and it says, I will therefore shake the heavens and the earth and remove. Hold on, let me read the verse 12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, and even a man of the golden wedge of Ophir. Right? Meaning, like people are going to, because when this war stuff going on, it's going to be so. You're going to be needing a strong man and around, because it's going to be people going to be needing help, right? Because it's going to be, you're going to see somebody, a capable young man, and you're going to wish they can stay and help, because everybody's going to be out to war, right? Don't think the draft is not coming. The draft is coming, right? And since it's coming, it's not going to be too many capable men around, and people are going to be in need of those, right? And it says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than a golden wedge of Ophir. Right? It says, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the days of his fierce anger. Right? So Most High God is coming to wreck shop on this place, right? And in wartime, it's going to be very not conducive for life, right? That's why it's going to be very scary, because the Bible tells you a third part of man is going to be, destroyed in this coming thing. So, like I said, capable, strong men is going to be very scarce, and it's going to be very precious to find one. Because you can be like, hey, I need this strong guy to break this branch and bend this branch and manipulate it so we can make a tent, right? So we can be able to survive out in this stuff. Because you don't think you're going to be living where you at right now when all this stuff breaking loose. So the Bible says that we're going to be like pilgrims on the earth, right? Meaning we're going to be moving. We're going to be out here like nomads, wandering around from place to place, right? And you better hope you don't wander too far off and end up in a FEMA camp somewhere, right? Or one of their little other concentration camps that they got going on, right? Because it's going to be like that, right? And it says, and it shall be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, that every man turn to his own people. So again, everybody gonna turn to their own people, because everybody talking about, well, look, racism is, you're gonna understand that day, right? And because a lot of times we got the Eurocentric idea of racism. Racism in its core is just preferring your own people, first. And in that day, when all hell breaking loose, and that's just a common thing, people do that all the time. If you you by yourself walk into a room with random people, you're gonna find yourself, trying to find somewhere where you can probably fit in, and then you're gonna eventually find a circle, and you be like, all right, I'm attached, because you're gonna see everybody just automatically group themselves to what they're used to and what they're familiar with, right? That's a natural human instinct, right? And we do it subconsciously when we walk into a random room with random people in there. That's how you end up meeting new people, right? That's how you end up meeting new friends and networking and conversating with people, because you end up finding that connection that you have with that person. So it's a common thing. So when the Bible says this, that what it says, therefore I will shake up the heavens, and it says, Verse 14, it shall be as a chaste road, and as a sheep that no man take up, that they shall every man turn to his own people, right? Because everybody be like, well, Bob, he's cool over there. I'm gonna just go hang out with Bob. No, Bob's gonna slit your throat when that chance happens because he's hungry. He has a family too, and he know that you need something, and he needs something, and if you need something, you probably gonna try to get it from him. So he might as well kind of get you out of the way, right? So you can't trust Bob, right? And Becky, and Karen, and Hunter, and Parker. So it says, where that? Boom, boom, boom. I lost my place. It says, boom, boom, boom. Every man turn to his own people and flee everyone to his own land. Right? That's what people are going to do. They're going to be like, you know what? Y'all people tripping over here. We got to go. We're going to go back to our own land, our own country, because we ain't trying to get blown up over here. We out of here. Then it says, I will, the children also, boom, 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 so boom. Everyone that is found, boom, says everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So like anybody that's joined with these people and it's right there, they're gonna be thrust through because they are, in the way. Because like I said, how we use this example, Most High God, when He comes to judge this place, it's not. Don't think it's going to be straight precision, right? It ain't straight precision. If you wrapped up with the ops, you're gonna get taken down like you're a damn op too, if you're Israelite or not, right? So keep that in mind. That's why we started off by saying, gather yourself together, O nation not desire. God told us that for a reason, because right here, He don't care who you are when He hit that block and spin that corner, and if you out there, you gonna get it, right? Because He gonna look at you like you one of them, right? So it says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So if you want to be joint with these Hunter and Becky and Parker and Kyle and and all those people, go ahead, go do that, right? Go ahead and align yourself with them, right? Because it says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, their wives ravished. That's how they getting down. These people are vicious animals, right? And it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they should not delight in it. So you can try to put sanctions on Russia and say, hey, Russia, you do this, we're going to do this to you, we're going to sanction you, we're going to cut you out of this, we're going to do that. They don't care. Look how they're moving. They say, do whatever sanctions you want. We're going to do what we need to do. We don't care about that. It's about principle at this point, right? It's about, standing on business, right? That's what they're on, right? And it says, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall have no delight in it. Meaning, it doesn't matter how you try to hurt them economically and all that stuff. They on that with you, right? They're gonna come together. They're gonna make their bricks. They're gonna come together. They're gonna have a bricks wide. We don't need your money. We're gonna make our own money with our bricks. That's what they're doing, right? And it says, their bows also should dash the young into pieces. What is their bows? Their bows is the modern day missile, their missile capability, the modern day missile capability that they have. And it says, their bow also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, meaning pregnant women, whatever. It don't matter. It's going down. Because how they say, killer, what was that song? A killer have no love, and a gun have no heart, right? A killer have no love, and a gun have no heart, right? So when they push that button, they ain't got love for this place. And when those missiles, those warheads start to travel through the atmosphere and hit their target, They ain't got no heart. If it's a pregnant woman walking with her children, if it's a a elderly man sitting on his chair on a rocker, when that bomb go kabooey, everybody going with it, right? No heart, right? Because a killer have no love and a gun has no heart, right? So, and that's where we see their children also should be dashed, the young men to pieces. They also should have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes should not spare the children. That's what's going down, right? So, back over here. Back to Jeremiah. And let's get back to 29. It says, and the land shall tremble and sour for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitation. Right? That's the game plan, to make this place desolate without inhabitation. Right? And that's the game plan. Right? Let's jump down to 35 real quick. It says, the violence done up to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. Shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall say. Right? So meaning we going to understand, because of these Bible prophecies, that God is judging this place and taking vengeance on our behalf. Right? So back up here. It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They become as women. They have burned their dwelling places. Their bars are broken. Meaning, when they start, when all this stuff really start happening, they hiding out in their little bunkers, their little underground bunkers, their little doomsday prepper boxes, and their little the armies in their little bunker spaces in the mountains and stuff. It's gonna be crazy, right? And it says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight, meaning they don't want to fight. They don't want the smoke. They see what's going on out there, and they realize it's not a win-win for them. It says, have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed, meaning they scared shitless. They see, the Mashiach Yahushua, back doing this thing, right? They see hell on earth. They see World War III at its maximum capacity, doing what it do. Right? And it says, Revelation 20 and 8, real quick. It says, and it shall go out to deceive the nation, and there are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is in the sand of the sea. Right? So, these people are going to come together and try to do battle against the Lord's people, right? And they're going to become desolate, because it says over here, the land shall tremble, sorrow, every purpose of the Lord should be performed against Babylon, and make the land of Babylon desolate without inhabitation. It says, the mighty man of Babylon has forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Right? Very interesting, because over here it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations where the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together. So Gog is the ancient way of saying king, right? Priest. So Pushaisti. Magog is ancient way of saying Moscow, right? It's an ancient word for Moscow, Magog. So, and we know who's the king of Magog. That is the real Pushaisti right now. So he's, what it says, and shall go to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number of who is the sand of the sea. So these nations are gonna come and try to battle, the Lord's people, right? And they become desolate and destroyed. And like we read over here, they're gonna be afraid to fight, right? And they ain't gonna want to fight because they're gonna know this. This is a fight that they can't win. They're going against a supernatural intergalactic being. 2nd Ezra 13:5 real quick. It says, after this I behold, and lo, there was a gathered together a multitude of men outnumbered from the four winds of the heavens. We just read that. So all these nations are going to come together. It says, to subdue the men that came out of the sea. So they're going to come together and try to fight against the Mashiach Yahushua Christ. So after Russia, Iran, the rest of the BRICS squad, they have no business on the West, they're going to think it's cool enough to come and fight against the Mashiach Yahushua and the millions and millions of black angels with them, right? They're going to think it's cool. And it says, from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I behold, and lo, and he had graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I have seen the region of the place whereout the hills was graven, and I could not. So meaning, so this great mountain that, because in the Bible, mountains refer to nations and people. So we are that mountain. You read about that in Daniel chapter 2, right? So basically, what is happening here, he is protecting us from this great, massive army that's coming down to attack. So he's hiding us. He's protecting us. He's showing that he's protecting us, right? Like if something happened, a parent might step in front of their child to show that they're going to protect their child. So that's what's happening here, right? Then it says, after this I behold, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid. Like we just read, they're going to be so afraid. We read that. Where is that over? We read it. It says they're going to be afraid to fight in that day, right? They're going to be so afraid. And it says, and yet durst fight. Meaning they're going to fight because they're going to get the order from their captains, their generals, the military, the branch that they're in, going to tell them, attack, right? Then it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up a hand nor held a sword nor instrument of war. Meaning, saying he didn't, he was just standing there, right? Looking like a Power Ranger, like, pow. How the Power Rangers, the pose. Just standing there looking cold, right? So just standing there, not saying nothing, right? Remember when Michael Jackson came out, did the little Super Bowl halftime thing? He just stood there for a few minutes. The whole crowd going wild, right? But in this case, the whole crowd is getting scared and frightened because they don't know what's going on, right? And it says, nor held a sword nor any instrument of war, but I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it has been a blast of fire, out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue cast out sparks of tempest. Right? Meaning, he gave that commandment. He gave that order. When you break it down. Then it says, and there were all mixed together the blast of fire and flaming breath and the great tempest, and fell upon the violence of the multitude which was prepared to fight. So the armies of the world that's coming against the Israelites in Christ, when Christ gave a commandment to fight, it says, what it says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire and the flaming breath, the great tempest, and fell upon the violence upon the multitude. So when Christ gave the order, and it says we're gonna fall on that great multitude, meaning we're gonna rush them, right? It's gonna be like what's that Resident Evil, Isn't it Resident Evil? No. 28 days later, the first one. How fast the little zombies was running. It's like, running real fast, right? It's gonna be like that. We're gonna rush them quickly. Very, very quickly. Very quickly. We're gonna rush them. Very quickly. Right? And it says, boom, boom, boom. It says, boom, it says, and they were all mixed together with a blast of fire and a flame and a breath and a tempest, and fell upon the violence of the multitude which was prepared to fight, and a burning them up every one, so that upon a sudden of the innumerable multitude. So our dear brother Ezra's like, hey, it's about million gazillions of armies out there came to fight a minute ago. And they was all hyped up and talking all that rah-rah stuff, talking all that big tough Tony, what they gonna do to the black Jesus, right? Then he says, a sudden of the innumerable multitude, nothing was perceived. Meaning all those big old massive armies, those tanks, those fighter jets, those, Humvees, all the little military technology they had, what happened to it? Where'd it go? I just turned away for 1 second. I turned away to kind of put something in my pocket, kind of look down a little bit. I look up and everything's gone. What's going on? What I missed? Right? Just went to the bathroom for a second. Right? What happened? Then it says, a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was perceived. Meaning, all that massive army that came to rush in to attack, they're not there anymore. What happened to them? But only dust. Oh my God. Only dust and smell of smoke. So these people were disintegrated, right? Obliterated. Not to ever be visitated. That's what happened to them. It says, nothing was perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. And what did our dear brother say when he saw this? When I saw this, I was afraid. That's what Ezra said. He's a prophet of God. And when he saw the power of God working and destroying these nations, even that mighty man of God that knows that this is for his benefit, he said, I was afraid. That's how terrible it's going to be for these people when they try to run up. All because they want to start messing with some black and Hispanic people. When they should have just left us alone. They should have just let us be cool. Right? Everything would be great. But nah. They want to go around starting something. Gotta be starting something. Right? That's what they are. Right? So, back over here. Before we get up out of here. So it's saying, where is that? Oh yeah, I don't know why I keep going there. Boom. Go to this one. No, it says, where we at with it? Let's go. Let's start at let's go back to 30. Let's go to let's go to start at 29. Matter of fact, it says, and the land shall tremble, and sorrow for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon desolate without habitation. It says, the mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their mighty men have fell. They become as women. They have burnt her dwelling place. Right? And it says, One post shall run to meet another, and the other messenger shall meet another, to show the king of Babylon that the city is taken at one end. So meaning like this administration gonna be getting messages all over the place. Hey, the State of the Union, they had the State of the Union a few nights ago. The State of the Union is no longer strong. The State of the Union is no longer strong. The people's going crazy. They're running wild. I don't know what they're doing. They're looting. They're trying to get in the White House. They're going crazy. I told them there's nothing we can do for them. Nothing we can do. Go back to where you came from, right? So it's gonna be it's gonna be crazy in that day. And it says, the post shall run to meet another, and another messenger shall meet another, to show the king of Babylon that the city is taken at one end. So he's gonna get the message that, look, this whole American Civil War is coming there, and that's what's happening. And they will take over. January 6th will happen again, and this time they will succeed, because the Bible tells us so. And it says, and their host, their might shall fail. They become as women. They burn. Okay, it says boom boom. It says and that the passengers are stopped, and the reeds that are burnt with fire, and the men of war are frightened. So, like I said, so no more travel, no more international travel. The border's gonna be locked down. Because they did that before with the whole COVID thing. They, stopped certain countries from coming here and all that stuff, or you couldn't travel to certain countries as well. So it's gonna be on a massive scale. And it says, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while the time of her harvest shall come. So God is like, look, this place is like, right, place is so evil, so wicked, so evil, but we're just gonna let it keep on just build up more of a case. Then we're gonna demolish this place, right? Then we're gonna just demolish it. Because I was gonna say, what's the word? I was gonna say rehab it, but no, there's no rehabbing. This is the demolish, right? That's what's happening here. So boom, Revelation 18. Let's go back. Because because like I said, that's what's coming. Like these countries are teaming up, and they're going to take down the Western power structure, because a lot of the Western power structure is going to end up folding and turning on themselves. They end up hating the whore, like the Bible tells us. And the whore being America. So, and it tells us this. Revelation 18, verse 18. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Because the ICBM missiles, once they hit and they're gonna, like I said, have their little nuclear warheads. China said that their ICBM thingies, their hypersonic thing, can get here in 35 minutes, right? Russia, their ICBM said it can get here in 45 minutes and hit any place over here. And just so happened, this book is telling us, therefore her plague shall come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord who judges her. So this is not our opinion or speculation. This is the Most High God's plan for this place. To deliver his people. At the same time he's delivering his people, he's destroying this place. Right? It's going to be the greatest thing ever. Right? We heard about the Exodus, you know how God delivered us the first time, right? And how cold that was. He took us out of Exodus with the 10 plagues. We done walked through the Red Sea. Everybody know about it. It's so cold. We done crossed through the Red Sea. Very cool. Very good story, right? You know, I'm pretty sure we all read, saw the movie 10 Commandments. Very cinema classic, right? Everybody like it. But this second Exodus is going to be something that we ain't never seen before, right? Something even on a grander, greater scale, and we can read about it, right? In several places, Isaiah, Zephaniah, Zechariah, and so forth, right? So, it says, therefore a plague shall come in one day, mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. Strong is the Lord that judges her, right? Because that's what's going on. Strong is the Lord that judges her. Because this place has a judgment for the things that they have done, right? And he's going to use the BRICS like Brazil, Russia, India / Iran, China, South America to do so, right? So, yes, Iran and America war is in the Bible. We read about it. Jeremiah 51 tell us about the nations that's going to be instrumental in destroying this place, right? So, let's jump down to verse 20. And it says this, rejoice over her, thou heaven, ye holy apostles and the prophets, for God has revenged you on her. So, when we turn on the news, we flip the channel, we see all the stuff going on, right? It's all for the revenge and the revengement of his people, right? And we got to understand that. We got to internalize that, because yes, war is horrible. Yes, nuclear bombs is not cool. Yes, the stuff we see on the news is not, nobody likes to see that stuff. It's not cool, right? But spiritually, we got to understand that this is for the benefit of his people, the nation of Israel, what he said he's going to do to fix his people and to punish those nations that put us in this predicament. We read that he wasn't happy with how things went down and how no nation did anything to help. We read that in Isaiah 63, right? We read that. So, we got to understand that this place has a judgment. There's nothing that I or you or anybody else can do about it. It was written. Before I was born, it was already written down. We just reading it and discovering it and understanding it and bringing it to life and making people understand what's happening. Because it tells us, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. So all of this is happening for the betterment of his people, because we have to understand the destruction of this place is a catalyst and definitely connected to our salvation. Because once World War III kicks off, in the middle of World War III, that's when Jesus Christ come back to save his people, right? According to the prophecies. And we believe that. We know that, because we see everything that's happening and how everything is lining up, right? So we just got to keep the faith and the endurance to the end, because again, we almost there. This is the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning, right? Where we at right now? No timeouts. No timeouts left. Keep that in mind. 2 minutes, no timeouts, 2-minute warning, right? We used all our timeouts. That's why we got to get it right now and understand. Rejoice over her, O heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets. Because we have to look at this thing. Although we turn on the news, it sounds bad, it looks crazy. We see kids and babies being whatever, right? But we have to understand, this is God's judgment, right? And it's not about my emotions or your emotions. It's about what Drake said, God's plan. God's plan. That's what it's about, right? Verse 21, because this is how it's going to go down, whether you like it, believe it, understand it, or not. This place is going down. Nothing you can do. Like, what was that movie? Blank Man? I think it's Blank Man. You're going down, Maloney. right? Going down. And it says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it to the sea. He threw it, right? He grabbed it, threw it towards the people. What did he say? Saying, thus with violence. How is America going to go down? Thus with violence. That's how this place is going to be taken down. It's going to be taken down with dust with violence, so this great city Babylon be thrown down. That's what's happening. Civil war, race war, world war, right? That's what's going to take this place down. Fighting the whole world is going to take this place down, because it says, thus with violence shall this great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more. Right? Thus saith the Lord, not me. Thus saith the Lord, shall be found no more. Right? And that's what's happened. That's the end result of this whole thing. Our salvation up out of this place, because everybody like, well, sure, if this place not found no more, what happened to us? The destruction of this place is simultaneously our salvation, getting up out of here, right? And although we cover it before, because seeing that the time, his clock is winding down on this 2-minute warning, we might go over how we gonna get out of this again, right? For those that don't know in the back. So hopefully that was edifying. You know, we understand that we got a Most High God that fight for us, and he's judging these nations, and he's gearing them up to come together so it can all be that one final judgment for this place on what they did to his people, and what the world has been doing to his people throughout the ages. Because God loves his people, just like you love your people. I'm pretty sure you got kids. If you got kids, you love your kids, right? You're going to do whatever you need to do to protect your kids. You know, you're gonna go John Wick, Rambo style for your kids if you got to, right? And that's what the Most High God is doing, right? So hopefully we can understand that, and if you can receive it. So say shalom, peace, till next time, right? We out.